when there is help, almost every bowler can get a wicket or two. It's when you don't have anything to go for, can you tie down the batsman? And I thought Jayasuriya on that front was more than decent.
It's good that Pakistan won. The prospects of an India-Pakistan WTC final are still alive.
He just keeps batting and batting like it's a net session, and it was basically that. It was like a 410 ball net session, and that won Pakistan the game.
Oh, he has to be humble enough to play against Zimbabwe. Sachin used to play Ranji Trophy and everything, even in his peak. So sometimes a little humility helps rather than rest.
It's been a while that we've done a cricket.com Vodcast, at least the English version of it. You saw the Hindi version, which was cracking with Somesh and Shub throughout the IPL. But we're back here on episode 7, and we're going to be talking about Ben Stokes and his premature retirement in ODIs. Of course, not to forget Pakistan and their record run chase with 4 wickets in the first test at Galle. What is India's best 11? What is the West Indies store mean to us in terms of fans? Should we really watch it till 3 in the morning? We have 4 men joining us with 4 different hairstyles, it's fair to say, but 4 different cricketing ideologies as well. We'll start with a man who's smiling the most in Somesh Agarwal, back to his hometown. How are we this evening, Som?
Yeah, all good.
Going on? Well?
Yeah.
And well fed, I'm guessing, back at home because you were starving in terms of office orders and stuff like that?
Yeah, man. I've overeaten for a while now, so yeah.
Yeah, I think Som is honestly recovering from that great holiday that he was part of. Speaking of people enjoying holidays, it was me. So that's why you guys haven't seen the podcast that much. But we're doing lots of content, so subscribe right now. We also have the Jesus Christ version of Anirudh Suresh joining us right now. Anirudh, you must be chuffed right now in terms of all the Aussie wins right now, the way they stand World Test Championship and whatnot. How's cricket looking to you right now? Because I know you're busy writing a lot of features. What's the next agenda, my friend?
I mean, it would have been better had they won the Sri Lanka series 2-0, but but no, it's fine. Like this is non-stop cricket, but I think right now I'm actually interested in this South Africa England series. I think it's been a while since these two sides played in England. So yeah, I mean, England had a very bad day yesterday, but I think this series will still be good. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it more than the West Indies India series. That I can say for sure. But
yeah, I mean, there's so much cricket. I thought you would touch about the TNPL, but just jokes apart there in terms of pulling your foot. Gurkirat now, of course, joins us. He's with CDC. We've managed to pocket the big fish from Twitter that he is. First and foremost, sir, how are we this evening? You're looking dapping, all right?
Well, great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And let's just drop the sirs. I don't think it's something that we should be continuing with. But on the cricketing front, I'd say I'm still recovering from the loss at Edgbaston. To be very honest, and I tweeted this on Sunday as well that I would have happily taken a series loss in the T20 series as well as the ODI series in place of a win or a draw at Edgbaston. So that's where I am mentally when it comes to Indian cricket. But otherwise, some good cricket happening. A brilliant innings by Abdullah Shafiq. Pretty much loved it. The composure that he shown was something which was very heartening, and it's probably his second or third innings this year where he has batted well in the 4th innings. So a great prospect for Pakistan for sure.
Yeah, and he's so young in his test career. In fact, he's not only played that many first-class games as well. I think 9 in total. But so talk to me about this whole test match. We saw Babar Azam playing a blinder. We saw Chandimal, of course, continuing his form. But this man, 400-plus balls, turning pitch in goal. You can't ask for more, can you?
Yeah, man. So this Abdullah Shafiq inning just reminded me of that Andrew Hall knock he played at Kanpur, no? 100 or 400 balls or something like that. Nowhere similar in style and substance and also the outcome. But yeah, these days we are just so used to watching 80 ball or 120 ball 100 even in test game that it was good to see a 400 ball 100 for a change. But yeah, man, Babar Azam, I mean, this game was set up by Babar Azam, I feel, because Pakistan were mostly down and out sometime around day 2. And I mean, all of us know if these 2 tons were by someone English or Australian, the value of these hundreds would have been, I mean, Twitter would have been flooded with talks about, Fab 5 or Fab 6 or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, quality knocks. It's good that Pakistan won. The prospects of an India-Pakistan WTC final are still alive. But yeah, I mean, Pakistan win ironically means that the road for India is tougher now.
Yeah, I mean, the two obstacles for India really is Pakistan and South Africa. And Australia, I think, would be upset in terms of, so I'm saying that, and we'll nicely move on to Anirudh in terms of how do you rate this particular innings? We talk about graft and attrition, all those adjectives you use in Test cricket, Anirudh. But in terms of this innings, in terms of just putting it out there and facing the likes of Prabath Jayasuriya was just being a worldie in the first, 1-2 games that he's played. How would you rate this knock?
I mean, I think it's top notch because just the sheer concentration levels and that are required to bat 400 plus balls in the fourth innings. I know, weirdly enough, the pitch didn't do much in the last 2 days compared to say in the first 2.5 days, because there was like, if you look at the last 2 days, the number of balls that misbehaved were like not a lot. There were just like phases where the ball was spitting off the pitch and everything, and
yeah, that's surprising because like this was the third back-to-back test at Galle as well, right?
Yeah, when Imam and Abdullah Shafiq were batting on day 4, like there was really nothing happening on the wicket, and Imam had to get out in the most bizarre fashion imaginable for Sri Lanka to get a breakthrough. So, but take nothing away from this knock, because scoring 160 on a fourth day on any wicket, I mean, it could be the flattest of pitches. It still requires immense levels of concentration and skill, patience, and I mean, you could keep going on and on and on. And considering that this is a guy who's just playing his 6th test, that is just absolutely insane. Like, he is not playing like a guy who's playing his 6th test or 7th test. He's like, I'm here, keep calm, I'm here. He has that attitude, and he just goes about his business without. It's like he almost is switched off while batting. I'm not meaning in a like he's losing his concentration or something. He's switched off in a way that nothing can phase him. It's just that he's like a machine. He just keeps going on and on and on. He cannot be rattled. He cannot be just bothered. He just keeps batting and batting like it's a net session. And it was basically that. It was like a 410 ball net session, and that won Pakistan the game.
Yeah, it was almost Pujara and these guys who, of course, speak about him kind of doing well at Sussex as well. Look, Gurki, that just to finally touch upon the Sri Lanka-Pakistan test, we've, of course, just spoke about highly about this Pakistan opener. But what about Prabath Jayasuriya? Because, look, he impressed you, I'm sure, against Australia, and he's done it again. He could have had 6 for, I think, in that first innings, but I think Yasir Shah was dropped at slip. So does this mean that we're going to go and see another version of Sri Lanka's Herat, or are we being wishful in thinking there?
See, I think there have been far too many contenders, in the Sri Lankan cricketing circuit who could, claim to be the next Herat, or to be claiming that spot. But as we've seen with someone like Embul Dinia, he does possess the skills to get wickets, but he's been on the expensive side of things, especially when you look at his economy rate. So I think when Sri Lanka have all 3 of them to select from, between Prabath Jayasuriya, Jai Vikrama and Embul Dinia, I won't be surprised if they leave out Embul Dinia, because Prabath Jayasuriya in these 2 test matches has provided far more control than what Embul Dinia usually does. Yeah. And if that happens, because you can't go in with 3 left arm spinners for sure, so they will play Ramesh Mendis along with the other 2 spinners. So maybe we'll have to wait and see how how his test career evolves. But in these 2 test matches, he's been quite good. And the thing that I like about the thing that I like about any bowler in test matches is how well are they able to control their economy rates when nothing is happening, right? Can they bowl dry? Because when there is help, almost every bowler can get a wicket or 2. It's when you don't have anything to go for, can you tie down the batsman? And I thought Jayasuriya on that front was more than decent.
Yeah, holding up an end, and he did that superbly. Is he the second or third Jayasuriya to play for Sri Lanka? I know Shehan Jayasuriya did, Sanath, of course, and I think Prabath now, or?
The
I don't
third
know.
Jayasuriya was Kusal Perera, no? He's the fourth Jayasuriya.
Maybe Kusal could, of course, have a shot in that. Right, let's talk about Virat Kohli's go-to word then, Ben Stokes, in terms of all the stuff that he's gone on. So we'll start with you. Surely he should have retired from this format. Was it a format that he misjudged?
I
ODIs?
mean, he's just deprioritized the format, which is being deprioritized by everyone. That's the case. I mean,
Do you agree? Do you think ODI is becoming boring and redundant?
I think he's more impactful in ODIs and T20s, honestly. But then he's just taken a call on the basis of the trend that we've seen about the dominance of ODI cricket. I mean, the relevance of the ODI cricket is falling for some time now, and he's just chosen to sideline it, which makes sense. He already has a trophy, no point lingering on. So
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I know that there has been a lot of discussions about this might lead to something, but it never does.
yeah.
Yeah.
True. It makes you think about how they lost Morgan and Stokes in back to back, what, 20 days or so? And Anirudh, I'll come to you because I know you're writing an interesting article later this week about that. Gurkit, I just want to pick your mind about those two individuals, right? We look at how experienced they are. You talk about ODI pedigree and all of that sort of wordage. Morgan and Stokes are brilliant and they're left handers. How much will they impact their ODI cricket, their brand, and their batting and all of that?
See, Morgan's form was really on a downhill, and he was actually taking up a place which could have been taken by anyone else in that, in the English team, because they do have a lot of explosive batters who can make an impact coming in at number 6, number 7, or even number 5. So
Yeah.
Morgan's retirement wasn't much of a surprise. He was also, I think, 34, 35. Stokes, on the other hand, is 31, but once he was given the test captaincy, and you have to account in for the number of test matches that England play, and the fact that he also has to bowl in test matches, him giving up one format was I thought was going to happen eventually, if maybe not so soon, but I thought it was going to happen eventually. I was surprised too that he chose to give up ODIs, given how his record in ODIs is much better than what it is in T20Is. But then you have to look at the larger picture, that he probably wants to continue playing T20 leagues. I won't be surprised the next thing that he does is that he really doesn't bowl a lot in T20s. He only focuses on his batting, because if you have seen the change in his approach, even in test matches under McCullum, it's like he used to earlier bat like a proper batter, but now I think he's going towards the extreme end of baseball. I'm not sure if that still is a valid term on the basis of 4 test matches. So it's not as surprising, and I think what is leading to ODIs losing relevance is that they are becoming longer form of T20s. You saw the Australia Sri Lanka ODI series. It was very interesting. People were watching it because there was help for both batters and bowlers. I think once the balance comes back in ODIs, they will start becoming relevant again.
I mean, so this is something that I was discussing with Anirudh as well earlier. Like, for example, if you what we saw during when Bangladesh was in West Indies earlier this month, West Indies clean sweep the T20Is, whereas Bangladesh clean sweep the ODIs. So essentially, they are not the same thing, because it just cannot happen. If they are the same thing, then we cannot see two varied results. And even during this England tour, when we saw that 250 was a good total to defend, I mean, there was life in ODIs, and it was quite watchable. So I quite agree with the point that Gurkirat is making, that as long as ODIs start becoming an extension of T20, they will just be boring. There has to be something for the bowlers there.
Yeah. We saw Ravichandran Ashwin, of course, have his say in terms of ODI cricket, Anirudh. Just coming back on this whole larger scheme of things, I know Stokes' retirement and he might be prioritizing the other formats, but do you agree with Ashwin? Maybe the fact that the two new balls in ODI cricket, his diminished reverse swing, the spinners coming into effect, of course, at the end part of the innings, all these kind of things are various subplots in ODI cricket, and that's why we've loved it growing up watching it. Do you agree with Ashwin? Do you agree with the boys here? What's your thoughts on it?
So I have a couple of thoughts on this, which is, first I want to address the Ashwin point, which is, I think it's right that just I mean, personally I have an idea that give teams two new balls and leave it up to them how they want to use it. if they feel the pitch is dead and it's a flat pitch and they could extract reverse swing out of it, let them use one ball for 50 overs or one ball for 40, two balls, so second ball for 10 or something like that. And if it's a green seaming wicket, give them two new balls, they can use it however they want, 25, 25, 20, 30, it's up to them. So that way you're not saying, you're not going back to the one ball format, but you're also like taking the best of both worlds. Like you leave it up to the team so that it's up to them how they utilize the resources. So that is the first. So, and yeah, definitely it does feel like an extended version of T20s in a way. I mean, in the sense that just it's too boring to watch ODIs these days. Like you can barely sit through an ODI match, and it's because, like Gurkirat said, the Australia series was brilliant because the wicket was turning square from like the fifth, sixth over, and they were opening with spin. It was something new, so that you got hooked to it. But now once it crosses like the 12, 13 over mark, from there getting to the 40, 45th over mark, it feels like, okay, this is actually just 3.5 hours, but it feels like 6 hours. It's like one innings feels like 6 hours. It's like, because it's so monotonous, like flat wicket, they hit boundaries. Okay, this over 6 runs, next over 8 runs, nothing for the spinners, no reverse, no seam, no swing, nothing. So that is the competition has.
I agree with you.
And I'll just make one more point, which is my point, which is that I feel that ODIs are becoming irrelevant because, let's say, even if the balance between bat and ball is restored, let's say that ODIs become a great spectacle to watch for us, the fans, once more. But at the end of the day, there is still very little incentive for cricketers to pursue the ODI format because clearly it does not have the financial. It's not lucrative anymore because T20s have taken over that. You can play like how many ever ODIs you want, and you won't get the same amount of cash that you make in a single IPL season, for instance. And it's too long. Again, it's 100 overs, so you're putting your body through a lot. If you're a bowler, you bowl 10 overs, which is the same amount of bowlers you bowl, same amount of overs you bowl in 2.5 T20s. And you play 2.5 T20s in what? 1 week? Maybe not more than that, but you're bowling more than that in a single day in the heat and hellish conditions for bowlers, which is completely tilted in favor of batters. And secondly, ODI cricket, at least now, does not carry the same prestige as Test cricket as well. Like your legacy as a cricketer is defined by how you fare in the longest format, which is why Babar has broken every single record there is basically. But we still are okay. Let's see what he does in Sena. Let's see what he does in Test cricket before, because he went through a lean patch where he didn't score 100 for 2 years, and everyone were like, okay, what's happening to Babar? But during that phase, he averaged like 90 plus in ODIs. But nobody cared. Same with Joe Root. He averaged 50 plus in ODIs till the end of the 2019 World Cup. But he was not rated because why? Because his Test form was in decline during that time. But now Joe Root is the number one batter in the world. Why? Because he's nailed it in the Test format. Same with Johnny Bairstow. He had an average of 50 and a strike rate of 110 or something, like even before a couple of months. But everyone were like, okay, Johnny Bairstow is okay, he's failed at Test, he's played 85 matches, he's averaging 33, blah blah blah, and all the talk was around that. But Bairstow has now like scored 5-6 centuries in 1 year, and now he's earned that respect. So ODS doesn't have financial stability. I mean, the financial lure for the cricketers. It doesn't have the prestige that Test cricket possesses. So it's stuck in this middle ground where the only thing good about ODS is winning the World Cup. But I don't know when that will also become secondary. When T20 World Cup, for instance, will trump winning the ODI World Cup. Who knows what will happen?
Yeah, I mean, on that regard, I think the ODI World Cup will always be more special, at least to me, because it happens once in 4 years. The T20 World Cup now is just becoming a joke with every 2 years. I think they should really look at the model. But some pertinent points there in terms of just maybe the demise of ODIs. Is it around the corner? The ICC really have to look at revising some of the rules. I know they've done that over the years in terms of giving it a facelift. You look at the super sub rule, you look at the third power play and all those kind of small tweaks, but it really hasn't ensured. Let's talk about something very important right now in terms of India's best 11 in both formats. We'll start with, of course, the T20 side of things before we ask you the 50 over side of things. Is it an obvious choice in terms of 5 men, I'm guessing? who fit in automatically, who are undroppables in T20s for India in the World Cup, guys. I'm going to name out the five. You can shake your heads or nod as we go along. Rohit Sharma, obviously, no brainer, captain. Just with Bumrah, of course, spearheading the attack. Uh, now the names will start trickling in. Rishabh Pant, dare I say, as Rohit's opener in the shortest format. Um, Virat Kohli, come on, you got to get the king in because of just experience level. And look, Jadeja as well for me fits in, and maybe even Hardik has a chance. So 5 to 6 guys. We'll start with Gurkirat, then we'll go with Somesh and then Anirudh. Gurkirat, take it away. What's your 11? Let's talk. Name us your 11 and then explain why.
So I'm going to consider that Rahul's fit, because that is going to be a huge question mark. Rahul, I personally see, as of now, the biggest question for the T20 side is that who bats number 3, because Kohli's been going through a rut. Now I know that Huda scored runs in the IPL and Huda scored 100 in Ireland. He also had a pretty decent outing versus England in the first T20. Then there's Surya Kumar Yadav as well, who scored runs. So there's obviously these two who seem to be the front runners. I'm not considering Shreyas Iyer because I think he's now falling behind in the pecking order, and he has some of it to blame himself for it only because he's not really worked on his weaknesses. So between these two, even though they have done well, there's still a question mark as to how well will they be able to play pace bowling or play in Australia. Now it's not their fault that they haven't played at all in Australia. So I think that factor alone is going to ensure that Kohli stays in the team. And as far as I'm concerned, I feel selectors have taken a call on him, because if they were doubtful, then they wouldn't have been okay with Kohli skipping these T20s and ODIs in West Indies. I think they've probably decided that he will be there or he won't be there, whatever be the call. But I think it's decided. I think that they will have him in Australia. Also, I feel if you are going to look at a proven number 3 at this point of time who could replace Virat, is the on skill. I think that is only KL Rahul, because others are still yet to be proven in Australia or against good pace bowling. So for me, Kohli is still there. I think Surya and Huda will also be in the squad. I'm not sure at what positions would they bat. So for me, if KL's fit, KL opens with Rohit. Virat would be one down. I feel Pant would be number 4. 5 and 6 would be Hardik and DK. 7 is Jadeja. Maybe Hardik can, maybe one of Pant, or maybe Pant will make way for someone like Surya Kumar Yadav. I'm not sure what will happen, because there is no way that India can play Pant, Hardik, Surya Kumar Yadav, and DK if they play the top 3.
Yeah, but
Or if they play all 3 of Rohit.
You're gonna play Surya Kumar instead of DK, right?
No, see, that's what I'm
No.
saying. I want to play him, but the question rises that where does he bat? Does he bat number 3? Does he bat number 4 or number 5? Because you can't rely on Hardik and Jadeja also to give you 4 overs, game in and game out. Jadeja,
Okay.
certainly you can't
Okay.
rely upon him.
So confusion aside, you just name us your 11 and then we'll take it from there.
So my 11 would probably, I'll take a punt on someone like Hardik to bowl 4 overs, have Surya Kumar Yadav at 4 or 5, depending upon how the situation goes. Hardik comes 6, 7 becomes DK, and then you have 4 bowlers, out of which Bhuvi, uh, Chahal, and Bumrah are certainties. I think the third bowler face-off would be probably between Harshal and Avesh. Both would be in the squad, but I feel given the pitches, Avesh might play ahead of Harshal, because Harshal's, even though he's been taking wickets, he's been slightly on the higher side in terms of his economy rate. So that one is an interesting perspective. Uh, so yeah, that's how I feel the squad will be. Harshal will be in the squad, so would be Hudda, and then among the remaining two spots could be, one of them could be someone like Arshdeep or Umran, and then you could probably have another spinner in someone like. Oh no, there's Jadeja who will be in the squad. So yeah, that would be my squad.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So just to reiterate, in terms of your finisher, you still have DK in your setup. And that's fascinating because I want to see if Som agrees with you. I'm definitely thinking otherwise. Tell us your 11, Som, because I'm fascinated to know your choices and why.
Yeah, so first and foremost, the point that Gurpreet mentioned is very valid. I think if KL Rahul is not fit, then it will solve a lot of headache for the management, which is not a good thing because KL Rahul
Yeah,
is a
that
very special team. Is a very special
Correct.
T20 player. Having said that, I feel the most important batter for India in the T20 format is Surya Kumar Yadav, and you have to make space for him, no matter how you do it. He's not played in
agreed.
Australia, but we have
Agreed.
seen him against the short ball enough to know that he has those shots behind the wicket to counter those.
His range behind the wicket is incredible.
Incredible, and I think against the short ball, that is very valuable. So,
Yeah.
assuming Rahul is fit, my 11 would be I would open with Rohit and Pant because I feel we have to maximize Pant, and there aren't enough lefties in India's domestic circuit to make it to the 11 for this World Cup. So I would open with Rohit and Pant, have Rahul at 3 down, Sky at 4, Hardik 5. And so this is something that I have in my mind for a long while, that if KL Rahul is fit, the toss-up is between Kohli and DK. And that is where the team management has to decide that do they value Kohli's solid solid numbers in Australia
So
and
you're
history
saying
and
if
whatnot
KL is
over.
fit, so if KL is fit, you're batting him at 3.
I will, yeah,
Okay.
because he's I mean he can be flexible enough and can still open with Pant.
Fine.
So basically, my 11 would be Kohli slash KL,
KL.
4 Sky,
KL.
5 Hardik, 6 DK. I think Jadeja has
7
to be
Jadeja.
there at 7 because again another lefty and Jadeja brings a lot in the field. Can't drop him. Contrary to what Gurkirat said, I would have Harshal and Arshdeep over Avesh because both bring in something which Avesh don't. I understand Harshal can be expensive at times, but Australia there is a nuance of bigger boundaries, and we have seen Harshal struggle on shorter grounds like Wankhede and all, where you can still miss time with slower ones and can be hit for a 6. But on Australia, I feel that will be a challenge, and he can actually be the leading wicket taker of the World Cup. And then
Yeah.
obviously Chahal, Bumrah, and Bhuvi are no-brainers, but I still have my doubts over Bhuvi because he has to swing the ball. If the ball is not swinging, then Bhuvi is not the same bowler. Like
Yeah,
you'd
I
rather
think
have
that-
a hit the deck bowler like an Avesh or maybe a left armer like an Arshdeep.
I think for pure experience, they might just go in with Bhuvi, similar lines,
Yeah.
and
They will
Virat
have to
as well.
start with Bhuvi and then take
Yeah.
it from there.
Anirudh, what about you? Do you see anyone else entering the fray in terms of options? Umran Malik, a lot of our experts in CDC were just praying for this boy to get the start in terms of the 11. What about someone like Deepak Hooda instead of DK, who can also give you a bowling option, things like that?
So, I mean, I'll name my 11, but I completely don't expect the management to go with this. But I'll just name my personal preference, which is if Rahul is fit, he opens with Rohit. I don't think there's a question in that. At 3, I will have Samson, not Kohli, not Huda, because my reasoning is that if they want to play the way they played in that series against England, which is look for boundaries, look for boundaries rather than building an innings or accumulating, then Samson is the perfect guy. You don't have to look anywhere. Like getting Kohli to play that style of cricket is making Dom Sibley play baseball. It's like, why? You already have Baster who can do that. Why would you ask a guy who's not comfortable with that style of play to force him to look for? It was actually painful watching Kohli play that way because we know that he tried his best, but he's clearly not suited for that. At least at where he is right now, maybe he could have pulled it off 5 years
Just something
ago.
if I
Yeah. Go ahead.
just something that I want to add a bit on this here. I think it's not just the team wanting to bat that way. Kohli's inabilities against spin bowling is also forcing him to take those extra risk in the power play against pace bowling, and this was very much evident in the second leg of last year's IPL, where he would start off quite well in the power play. I think he was striking around 135 in the power play, and then over 7 to 11 his strike rate would drop below 100. So I think it's a combination of a lot of factors. The team wanting to bat that way, Kohli's weaknesses against spin bowling also forcing him to take as much risk as he can, so that his strike rate isn't affected as much later on.
Definitely, yeah. So all things considered, right now, the only thing working in Kohli's factor is his experience in Australia. I mean, given his current form, not just international form, but IPL, he's average what 25 and has been striking under 120 for like 2 seasons now. So yeah, so my 11 is Rohit, Rahul, Samson at 3, Sky at 4, Hardik at 5, DK at 6, Jadeja at 7, Harshal at 8, Chehel, Bumrah, and Bhuvi. So
Okay.
I think this will. The only change I expect is probably them playing Kohli instead of Samson. I think that looks like the most logical thing for the management to do, because they have not even picked Samson for this West Indies matches. So
I mean,
how?
Samson is just a
Yeah,
different story, dude.
so
Like, you just feel
Yeah,
bad for him because what he
it's just
needed
my
to.
this is my preference. I'm saying so. Maybe
Yeah,
Huda
yeah.
could, if Huda has like say across his 5 T20s against West Indies, he scores another 100, or he scores like he averages 30 and strikes at 190 or something. Then there might be a discussion around whether Huda should bat 3, but Huda should have like an absolutely like crazy series against West Indies for India to actually believe that this guy can walk into the 11. Otherwise, I think it's going to be Kohli. But uh, a lot of headaches will get solved if the management better pray that one of Kohli, Rohit, or Rahul get injured before the World Cup, because otherwise they'll have to make a very tough call between. I mean, because you can't fit in Sky, you can't fit in DK, you can't fit in Hardik, you can't fit in Pant in the same middle order, because where will Kohli go? Where will Rahul go? So it's a they are in a very uncomfortable position, and we'll know like what they're made of, whether they're bold enough to take the calls, like the tough calls, because they didn't do that last year. So let's see if they do it this time around.
Yeah, at
If
the
they
end of the day, it's
actually
game selection headaches. But yeah, go on, Gurkirat.
if they actually drop Kohli, if he's fit and available, it will be a revolutionary call in Indian cricket, not just for this year, but even for the team years to come and the teams that will play. Because we've seen a lot of players go through an absolute rut before an ICC event and them playing purely on reputation and not getting dropped. There have been far too many examples. So if they actually drop Kohli, it would be revolutionary,
yeah,
regardless of the fact India win the World Cup or not.
yeah. I think that will be the end of celebrity culture in Indian cricket for sure.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
based on what
Yeah, probably
Anirudh
yes.
said, I think I have 3-4 broad pointers. I think one thing that works in Kohli's favor is the fact that the World Cup is in Australia. If it would have been in any other place in this world, his position would be in further scrutiny than it already is.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, I really feel that Samson and Umran Malik are out of contention for the World Cup, because if they were not, if they were still in the contention, they would have been in the West Indies series, because in a series where you are resting a few key players, you would have at least those players who are in the fringe. If they're not even selected there is no, I don't see them making the World Cup squad. Number three, something that works for Deepak Hooda is how he takes down spin. I think the difference between Hooda and a Shreyas Iyer is that Hooda is still not exposed. Any of his weakness is not exposed like what has happened with Shreyas Iyer.
Yeah.
And I had a fourth point, but the fourth point regarding Anirudh's 11 is the top 6 is all right-handers, and the replacement for Samson with Kohli is again right-hander, which I would be very, as a Indian cricket fan, I would be very nervous about, because it just opens to too many matchups, questions, and just strategic difficulties. To solve it,
Also,
you have to play
you can't even promote
Jadeja.
Jadeja,
you can't even
because he's
promote
not
Jadeja to take down against spin, because
spin. Yeah. Because if you have to make a team which is predominantly right-handers, then you need players like Rahul Tripathi who are good at spin that goes away from them. But he also is nowhere near in the scene.
The only counter argument I have is I feel Sky is easily the best player of spin in the country. It doesn't matter if he's facing the ball, turning away or turning into him.
But
So
but
him
that
shorting
that is like Yeah, but
Yeah.
that makes me think that we are just expecting Sky to basically win the
Yeah,
World Cup.
that's true. If he has a, but regardless, I think if Sky has a bad World Cup, I think India are not going deep. I think he's the most important
That
player in
that is
this
the
event.
Australian in you talking.
No, no, no. I mean, look at it, right? Okay, fine. That's a discussion for another day, like the who's the most important player and all. But yeah, I agree that that's why I said I gave a warning that this is my preferred 11, but I'm sure that this is not what the management will go for because, like Somesh mentioned, it's clear that certain players are not in their plans. So yeah, it's going to be very tricky. It's going to be very tricky for them to select 11.
Okay, so of course we have just 5 minutes
I
left
think
in this discussion. Gurkirat, let me just ask you this because look, the West Indies tour, what does it mean for us? I mean, we're playing again white ball cricket. I mean, it's just ridiculous the amount of stress that we have in terms of our jobs right now. But three ODIs, five T20 internationals. What are you expecting India to do? And they're going to be coming up against a very young West Indies team by the look of it. By what's that name that we wanted to shout out in the podcast, Som? Gurukesh Moti,
Yeah.
KC Moti, all of them. So, Gurki, I'll come back to the question. West Indies tour, what are the objectives, my friend? What will Rahul Dravid and company want to tick off heading into both World Cups and cricket ahead?
I think this series is going to be a straight off shootout between Hooda and Shreyas Iyer. The good thing is for both of them is that pitches in West Indies are slightly on the slower side and they spin. So the pitches are, you know are something that are their respective strengths. But like Somesh mentioned, that Shreyas has been far more exposed against short bowling and pace bowling than what Hooda has. Plus, Hooda also offers something with the ball. So if pitches are slow and if he gets to bowl, then he might have a stronger chance to make his case. Also, another very good opportunity for someone like Ruturaj, if he gets the game time to stake a claim, because again pitches will be slightly on the slower side. He could showcase how good his spin game is, and that might help him. So I think the number one objective here would definitely be to see who's ahead in the pecking order now between Shreyas and Hooda. Also, if I think Kuldeep's available subject to fitness, right? Kuldeep's
Yep.
available
Yeah.
subject to fitness. So if Kuldeep
Right.
plays, you'll again have to see how his progress has been.
Okay. So, off camera, you said that Samson should play, has to play by the looks of the squad. If he doesn't, it's absolute blasphemy, isn't it?
Oh, a tricky word to use in these times, but yeah. So basically, I'll talk about the ODIs. We can talk about T20Is later on. Looking at the ODI scheme of things, I have three things to look forward to. First is who opened with Dhawan. The options are Ruturaj, Gill, and Kishan, and I really want them to go and open with Gill because, I mean, he deserves a run. I think Ruturaj has been given a fair run, and it's a different format. What we know for Ruturaj is through T20s, and I think Gill is best suited for ODI cricket. The tempo with which he plays. So I would want them to open with Gill. This other thing that would solve is they will have to play Samson as their wicketkeeper and not Ishan Kishan, because otherwise if they open with Kishan, then there is your keeper and they won't really need Samson. So one is open with Gill, second is play Samson, and third is I'm looking forward to for them to have Arshdeep in the 11 and see how it goes, because his debut was pretty good and lots to come on that front. And there has been a while since we've had a proper left arm pacer in the mix.
There are also players like Shardul, Prasid, Anirudh. In terms of any X factors that we need to watch out for, you mentioned, I mean, Gurkida mentioned Hooda, of course. Kishan
Yeah.
and Gaikwad will be a shootout. What are your thoughts?
So he mentioned, Gurkirat mentioned about the shootout between Shreyas and Hooda, but I also have, I mean, I'm talking about the T20Is, by the way. There is also one more interesting player to look forward to, which is Ashwin. He's been included in the T20S squad. So I think Ashwin has a genuine opportunity to probably take, this guy, jump over ahead of Aksar in the pecking order when it comes to the spin bowling all-rounder backup, because I think Akshar has been pretty ordinary in the stretch of matches he's played. I mean, he's not impressed with ball or bat. I know he's a like for like replacement for Jadeja, but he does not bring that X factor with either bat or ball in T20 cricket. So if Ashwin can have I'm not sure if how many games Ashwin will get, but maybe he will, because Chahal is rested for the T20I. So, say if Ashwin has a series where he picks up 7-8 wickets at an economy of 6.5, and he has a couple of cameos, then who knows? I think he could probably jump ahead of Akshar in the pecking order, because we clearly saw in the IPL how Ashwin's batting has improved a lot in the shorter format. He can do a lot of things with the bat, which is like he can be a pinch hitter, he can be a pinch anchor, he can be a finisher if you want. He can do a lot of stuff. Let's say India encounter a green seamer or something in Hobart or whatever, and if you want your Surya and Pant and all to be protected, you can just promote Ashwin up the order. I don't
but
think
Ashwin won't play if it's a green seamer, isn't it?
Can he be the Nighthawk?
Nighthawk, yes. Nighthawk in T20 cricket. Yeah. So I think let's see. I think if let's see if Akshar actually plays in the starting 11, because like I said, he had a very okay South Africa series. He got belted by Ireland, and I don't think he played in the England series. I think it was Jadeja and Chahal who played. So
Played the first game.
He played the first game.
Played the first game.
I think Ashwin is predominantly picked because the series is against West Indies, so they know they have to counter a lot of lefties, and I'm expecting Ashwin to play a lot of games, if not all 5 T20s. Yeah.
So we all agree that Sundar is done, right? Like he's not in contention at all.
At least for the World Cup, yeah.
World Cup, that is.
Yeah. He has to be fit first.
But he's playing county right now, right? So it's a bit. I don't know what's going on there.
Because once Anirudh was talking about Akshar Patel and pecking order, he took a long pause. I was thinking, is he going to say Washington Sundar, who's definitely injured? Right, gentlemen, it's been 40 minutes of absolute cricket chat. Thanks so much for making your presence felt in this podcast. And the next time we'll see all is hopefully before India Zimbabwe. Apparently, the BCCI want Virat Kohli to play in that one. And who knows, it could be the 72nd 100 we see in Harare or Bulawayo or wherever they're going to be playing, which is going to be fun. It's like Sachin, I think he scored his 100th 100 against Bangladesh. So don't be hating Kohli, guys. Come on. Got him some slack.
Oh, he has to be humble enough to play against Zimbabwe. Sachin used to play Ranji Trophy and everything, even in his peak. So sometimes a little humility helps rather than rest.
Okay, all right. With that little bit of Kohli hating to end the show, we'll leave it with you guys to subscribe and like the video as much as possible. Do share and check out all the other means of content that we have right now.